Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this super cool Stern Flight 2000 pinball machine. Did you hear that? It just clicked. This super cool Stern Flight 2000 pinball machine. And we've been working through it a little bit, and we have gotten up to the point where I'm going to mess with the displays a little bit because we can't really tell if it's booting all the way. Like, it looks like it just did while we were standing here. See how the light's blinking? Off, on. So I believe it's up and running, but it doesn't immediately come up and running, etc., etc. So I kind of need the displays working next. So we're going to take those out, rebuild those, and then see if I've got some other ones in the back to fill in the other three missing ones. So that's what we're going to do on this video, and then we may end up working on the MPU board again, or we're basically just trying to figure out what is working and what's not working and get this thing serviceable again. When we bought this machine, they had started parting it out. So they had took the lockdown bar and sold it, the lockdown bar receiver, sold it, the power supply on the bottom, sold it, 3 of the displays, the solenoid driver board. So we've been slowly putting it back together. So if you didn't see those videos, go back and check them out, or you're going to be lost. You wouldn't start a movie right in the middle, would you? Of course not. But I'll bet most of you have already been watching. So we're going to work on the displays. The first thing I'm going to do is this one down here keeps tripping. You saw what it was doing just a second ago. So I'm going to pull it out first. We're going to look it over, and we'll go from there. There's a little bit of ghosting going on there. So we got to figure out what the deal is, and that's first. So let me pull it out. Let's put it on the bench and take a little look at it. Okay, so here's the first one. This is the 6-digit, which is the ball and play and credit and match one. This was the one that was tripping. Now, it could be the display is doing that, but you saw how it cleared up after it looked like the board booted. I think we may still have MPU problems that are undiagnosed at this point. But I'm trying to get where we can see a little more of what's going on. So I want the displays to work, the sound to work, and the lamps to work. You know, the displays especially, because if we're trying to go into test mode, this might tell us something. Now, the test for the MPU, though, really is just that LED on it that blinks 7 times. So it's doing all that, and it seems to be booting up, but it looks like it comes up and then waits for a minute, and then boots up, and waits for like a full minute, and then boots up. So that kind of sounds like we've still got some corrosion issues on the board or something like that. So we'll see. But here's the board. Basically, I'm going to go through and I'm going to test all of these transistors to see if any of those are out of spec. And then I'm also going to resolder. We're going to clean it up too, of course. I'm going to resolder the pins on this connector. If you look at the end ones especially, sometimes there's like bad broken solder joints. Yeah. There's a good example. See that first one there? See the ring all the way around the post? And the second one's kind of got the same thing going on. I wonder if it would illuminate from the bottom. No. No, it would not. So the first two have issues. Okay, but I would resolder all of them. So how do you check the transistors? Well, luckily, they're all similar. So like there's 7 here, or I'm sorry, 6 here, and there are 6 up here. So those 2 rows drive the individual digits. And then you have 7 here, which drive the individual segments. So if you have a problem with one segment on all of them, a lot of times it's one of these. If you have a problem with an entire digit is stuck on or stuck off or whatever, a lot of times it's one of the 2 pair that drive that digit. And then you also have these resistors. They're at R1, which is here, R3, which is here, R5, R7, R9, and R11. These resistors sometimes burn up. Now, this is a little bit later game, so by that time they had fixed a lot of the problems that they had with the design originally. Boy, it does not want to cooperate with the light today. Let's see if I can lighten up the camera. That's better. R1, R3, R5, R7, R9, and R11. Now, how do I have that memorized? Well, it's because they're all in order. It's the first resistor, and then the odd one as you go along. I don't even know if there is an R2. There may be. Okay, so we test those with the multimeter. And then the transistors we check with the diode test on our meter, and we compare them, like compare this one to this one, this one to this one, this one to this one. Just compare them to the ones that are alike. Okay, now let's see what they actually are, if I can read it. Yeah, I can't tell by the way they've got it labeled. A lot of times they will label these numbers that are not standard because they're trying to protect something. Okay, these ones in the front are 2 N5401s. If I didn't just break it, moving it over like that. Have to look into it. So we'll test them and see. So let me show you the schematic of it for all of you people that know by looking at the schematics what they're doing. Let me find it. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4. This must be the 6-digit one. Yeah. So here you go. So you've got BCD data that comes into the MC14543 chip. Okay. It's also getting a display blank signal and a latch strobe signal. Okay. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 outputs to MPS A42s. That's the ones that are the segments. Okay. You got a couple of resistors. And then you have inputs on the actual pins of the display. Or do I have that right? I believe that's right. And then over here you have I'm trying to find the other inputs. POJ1, POJ2. J1. J1. Okay, here's so these are coming in on, yeah, these are coming in on J1, which is from the MPU. Okay, so you got a couple ground lines. You've got a 5-volt. And then somewhere we have a they are labeling it as 186 volts. Something like that. You can adjust it. So between 170 and 190 is where you're kind of supposed to be. And then you've got your different signals coming in. So this is that voltage. You have a 110 volt Zener diode here. Okay. And then these are your inputs. The first one is an MPS A42. And then it also the 2 N5401 we were talking about, and that's what runs each digit. And they show it as a loop because the lines kind of loop around. Sometimes you can see it in the glass. Okay. So that's what we're looking at. So I'm going to test all of those transistors, see if I find any bad ones. I'm going to resolder the edge connector, and we're going to do that for all of the displays. But I'm going to have to find 3 more of them that are missing from the actual cabinet. So I'll show you how I go through these. So if you look on the back, you can see the footprint of the transistors. So let's say we were going to do this row first. Those are all the same. They're 2 N5401s, but you don't really need to know that. All you need to do is check between, I usually do the middle leg and the outside legs. You can't see what I'm getting. Boop, boop, boop. That's better. 0.6, 0.6 pretty much, and if you go the other way, you don't get it. Okay. Okay. So you're basically checking to see if you get something similar on each transistor. And if you get one that's way off, way different, well then you must know, or you know that one must have something going on. Now it doesn't necessarily mean that transistor's bad. It just means that on that circuit there's something going on. So it could be like one the other transistor's bad, or resistors burn up or something. So for instance, that says 0.546, and then if you go down to this end, it was 0.591. That's different, but it's not really significantly different because the voltage drop. So you got about three different measurements you can get. You can get something that's like a short, which is something like, let's see if I can find one that's just automatically kind of a short. So it goes to are connected on the board. So you see I'm getting like a 0. That's because it's a dead short. So that's what we're looking for. So when I do this across those two pins on the transistor, I don't have a dead short. So not only that transistor is not shorted because it's not, it doesn't have to be 0.0, it could be 0.1, might be a short, might be dying or shorting together, right? You're just, you don't need to know the specifics of each one. You just need to look for something that is off. Okay? But you've got about 3 different areas that the measurement can fall in. It can fall in really low, which is like our short, 0.0, right? Or it could be really high, which I thought I found one over here that was like that. Yeah, so see how that's 1.6? That's really high. So that means power is getting from here to here, but it's not very easily. Right? So it's not a short that's really high. So there's a connection there, but it's a really tenuous connection, right? And then if we get this between 0.4 and 0.7 or so, then that's the forward voltage drop on the gate, basically. So it's on a transistor or a diode or whatever. So if you're between 0.4 and 0.7, then you have a gate relationship there, basically, right? So that we're just checking that to see if that's right. So what we're basically doing is making the transistor work a little bit by sending a little voltage through it, right? So those all test similar. Does that mean they're all good? Not 100%, but more than likely, yeah, right? So then we have these 6 down here, and then there's 7. And after you do it a while, you can kind of tell what's a transistor and what isn't. There's 7 right here. Now these are all the same part number, MPS A42. It's another thing worth mentioning is we're testing these in circuit, so you can get problems doing that because just other things that are connected to it. So let's see here. Okay, it's 0.625, 0.598. Now, did you see what I did a second ago? I swapped the 2 leads. Now, why did I do that? It's because if they're using this transistor and this transistor to do the digits, so this transistor, the left one, and this one run this digit, the digit all the way to the left, which on a 6-digit display would be 100,000, the 100,000 digit. Okay, and then the 5th one, this one, and this one run the 10,000th digit. Now, I don't know how it runs it, right? And I don't know why this is, but for whatever reason, when it was designed, and another thing to point out, I'm not designing anything, so I don't really need to know how it works. Someone else already designed it, and they knew what they were doing. The thing works, and has worked in millions of these pinball machines. This design is the same in all the Bally's and the Sterns, right? So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just trying to see if any of it's messed up. So I don't really need to know how this works and why it works that way and all that. It helps if you know that. If you know that, that's good. But you don't have to understand all of it. But what I'm saying is this transistor and this transistor both run that digit. Whenever that's a thing where you're using two different transistors, usually whenever you measure them backwards. So one will be like an NPN and one will be a PNP. I don't know which one's which, but basically on this one, I'm using the red lead in the middle and then checking the outside legs with the black lead. If I did that up here on this one, it's not the same. You know, it doesn't work like that. You got to reverse it. The black lead needs to be the one in the middle and the red lead on that side. So, you know, I'm trying to explain out loud what I'm doing. But whenever I do it here in person, I do it really quick. You're just looking for things that are screwed up. So far, I have not found any. Don't forget there's lots of dirt on everything too. Okay, now, if you've noticed when we looked in the schematics, all of these and all of these are the same part numbers, so they're going to test about the same. However, it's being used slightly differently, so it may give you a slightly different reading, but as long as all these ones that are being used similar give you a similar reading, they're probably fine. 0.643, 0.617, okay. 0.643, 0.624, 0.639, 0.617. So you see I'm basically getting 0.6 something on all of them. Now if one of them gave me 0.38, I would go, that's way the hell off. I wonder if that's anything significant. So you might decide to swap that one or put it in the machine and see what kind of trouble you run into. Alright, so I just checked all of those transistors and didn't find any that seemed weird. Okay, so now we've got the resistor thing to do. Whoa, hell. Now we've got the resistors to do, so we're going to put it on ohms. And I'm going to check across R1 in circuit. Remember, they're dirty, so you got to get on them a little bit. So I've got 99.1 K ohms. So it's supposed to be 100,000 ohm, 100,000 K ohm resistor. R1 was fine. R3 is 104.6. So if that's a 5% resistor, you're looking pretty good. R5, 103.6. R7, 98.9. R9, 102.3 or something like that. And then if we jump over here to R11, 98.6. So they're all around 100K. They're all fine. So there's nothing wrong with this board other than the bad solder that was on this pin that I resoldered. So when it came up and it was giving us that one digit really bright and the other one wasn't, and then after a second it kind of switched and everything was cool, that's probably, we've got a problem with the MPU still. But we'll see. It could have been a bad connection or something. Okay, so I'm going to slide this one in, and then I'm going to go grab that 7-digit one that was in there, and we'll mess with it a little bit. Okay, so here's the 7-digit one. So Bally and Stern came up with 7-digit displays where they just added another digit to it. And so they had to redesign the board to use an extra pin on the connector so they could add one more coming from the MPU. Right? And on this one, they've got it laid out pretty good where you can see what's going on. Latch, decoder, segment outputs. right? So they've got it all separate for you. So now it's basically the same design, but now we've got 7 of everything. And still have 7 of the segments. And they've now labeled it as segment driver LS1, LS10, LS100. I think that means latch strobe, maybe. Something like that. But it's the same process. You're going to have problems in the same exact areas. You're going to have it in the resistors where the signal comes in, which I don't know if they're still R1, R3. Somewhere you're going to have a 100K resistor just like before. But they may have changed the... Oh yeah, they've moved them. Look, they're up here now. R1, R3, R5, R7. Wait, am I doing this right? No, I'm wrong. Disregard that. They've renumbered everything, so it's all set up a little bit differently. But you got the same situation. You want to look for the burnt resistors. You want to look for transistors that aren't working right. Compare them against each other. And you want to look for bad solder on the edge connector. That's where all your problems are going to be. Someone has resoldered this one at some point. So it looks pretty decent. Except for that last pin. I thought it looked pretty decent. Look at that. Look how bad. Look how horrible. And that's going to be a ground or something. It's something big. All right, so I'm going to resolder that. I'm going to test all of these, and then if I run into anything weird, I'll let you know. Okay, so on this version, it's these ones in between here. So it's R26 is 100K, R20 whatever that is. This one, this one, this one, and this one, R44. So they've it's the one that's outside of where it says segment driver. But same value, 100K. And they're all within spec. So we're good. They don't even look charred or anything. This thing may have not got much play, but, you know, the Playfield being destroyed would tell us otherwise. Okay, so we're going to put this one back in, and I'll see if I can get it to go into display test, and we'll see if... I think this card maybe is supposed to be bigger. We'll see if it's doing its thing, at least somewhat reasonably. And if it is, we'll see if I can find 3 more 7-digit pinball displays. I wonder if I have any of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, ignition. All right, so I think those 2 displays at least are good. The MPU is still questionable, but let's find some new ones. Okay, let's see what's in this box. First one, but it looks damaged. But not really. It just looks like it was in something damaged, right? Like nothing's actually burnt. It's just dirty. Some smoke damage. Oh snap, some of it came off. Let me see if I can clean it up at all. It's probably fine, but it's ugly. Well, the poor thing wouldn't clean up, but nothing tests is wrong with it. I resoldered the connector. The bottom looks perfect. I honestly think it's just smoke damage. Something must have burnt up inside of the cabinet on one of these games, and it just threw smoke all over the thing. All of the resistors that usually burn up tested fine. They're not burnt. They don't look damaged. They're just dirty. They're discolored. All of the transistors tested fine. And the chip apparently had some kind of guard over it where it didn't get any smoke. I think we got to try it. You can get new ones that are LED ones, but you can't get new plasma ones. So, you know, it's kind of valuable. I guess you could take the glass off and put on a board that had a bad glass. But what fun is that? We got to try it. We can't discriminate against it, people, just because it's ugly. What do you think? Looks like a Player 3 display to me. So, if you have one that's ugly, like, you know, it's burnt or something, you can put it as Player 3 or Player 4, because nobody ever really plays a Player 3 or a Player 4 game. Sometimes, but not usually. Okay, so let's go pop it in and see if it even tries to work. So we're going to turn it on and test it. Now, I've got a theory about the boot up. Remember how I said I think maybe the board still has an issue? I don't think it does. I think something else is going on. Watch this. Okay, so it looks like those displays are going to be fine. See how this light is on? Now watch. After we sit here for a minute, it's going to take about 30 seconds. You're going to hear a click down here. Like clockwork. The click was the coin door relay coming on. So what's going on? So I've been watching it do this, and I've been thinking, why in the world is it doing that? It's like a delayed boot. It's because of this game. I wasn't thinking. You know how you have memories in the back of your head, and it's been years, and you see it. Oh, look. It's trying to come back to us. It's going to Christine itself. You know how you have memories in the back of your head and they come back to you slowly? Well, I started thinking about it. When this game boots up, this is the first game they had, I think, that Stern had that was multi-ball, or maybe the first one that was, maybe not the first, but it was definitely multi-ball. So there is this brilliant contraption up here they called, I think, the ball walker. So the way you play this game, and by the way, I know this is all destroyed. It will not be destroyed when we get done. You're going to love it. You're going to be amazed. So the ball comes up here and can lock right here. Or no, it locks right here. There's some little scissor things that can hold the balls right here. And then to move the balls, it pulls in a coil, which makes the ball fall one more step, and then it falls down to here. This shoots it up into here. This shoots it up into here. Then it falls down into the out hole. So what happens, I think, when this game comes on, I don't have any of the coils plugged in. There's no balls in it because this thing's trashed. We haven't messed with the Playfield at all. So I think what's going on is it's coming up and it's saying, hey, wait a minute. I can't see that the 3 balls are in the trough of the Playfield. So it's saying, oh, they're probably stuck up here. Let me look for them. Now there's switches up here, I think. Oh, you know what? Look, there's not. There's no switches on there, so it can't tell. So it's saying, I'll bet they're stuck up here in the ball walker. So let's cycle it, and it moves it. It's probably trying to move it, but it can't because it's not plugged in. And then it's waiting to see the ball land there. But it never does because there's no balls there. And so after about 30 seconds, it says, to hell with it. Go ahead and start up anyway. I think that's what's going on. So in other words, I think the MPU is just fine. Very cool. We're looking pretty good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, green clear ignition.
Might have some soundboard problems, but we're getting there. We haven't even touched it yet. Okay, so that's the burnt up one, and it looks great. I can't.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, green.
You can't argue with the results, people. Let's go see if we got any more in that box. We found the home for that one. Next. Let's see what's in here. Well, that's a pretty one. Looking pretty good, people. So you can have that nipple broke there too, which would let all the gas out. Let the vacuum out. It's not broke. Yep. We're good. Okay. So same treatment. I'm going to test every transistor. I'm going to test the resistors. Those 7. I'm going to clean this and resolder it. And then we're going to try it in the game. Easy peasy. Unfortunately, that one's dead. Which it could be the glass is bad. Could still be a connector thing. You got to be careful when you're messing with these. It's 200 volts.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3,
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check to see if we're getting the 200 volts on the board, if it's got the 5 in the ground, and then I'm going to swap it into another position just to make sure it's not the wiring harness. But it's very common for the glass to go bad on them, and this is exactly what happens. Basically, it won't do anything. Sometimes you can have a broken pin or something. Let me check for voltage on it. Well, guess what? I didn't have the voltage on it because I've still got a bad solder joint. So this is the power pin, 185 volts, and here is the test point. Not connected. Not connected, people. You know, we need to think up a rule or a word, maybe somebody already has, or a phrase for when you're looking for a problem and you're happy that you found one. You know? So, for instance, damn, the engine just blew up in my car. But the good news is, tomorrow I'm going to have a brand new engine in my car. Right? So the display is dead, but luckily I found there's a bad solder joint where I screwed up when I resoldered it. So if you look, I didn't quite get it right. It's not quite good enough. It looks good, but it's not quite touching. It's hard to see. See, it's on that green, the dark green solder mask, but it's not really, it just ain't good enough, people. So I'm going to take all that solder off, and we'll do that, and then we'll see what it looks like under there. Classic broken solder pad. Look, the solder pad is there, but it's broken loose of the trace. Easy to fix. Very cool. By the way, it's been about 3 months now. I'm still using my Vampire Tools solder sucker. Now you see how the writing has worn off of it. It's because I use it all the time. Now look at this. I have replaced the silicone tip because they do burn up after a while. Look what I replaced it with. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, people. And I bought another one. It was so nice, I was like, man, I'm going to buy a backup for my backup just in case. So if you don't know, on an earlier video, months ago, I found this tool. The Vampire Tools solder sucker. This damn thing works great. I've had problems with solder suckers for years. I like using these instead of a desoldering station. And I found this one, and it's just a great design, and it works great. So I've been using it ever since. It hasn't broke on me yet. Works great. If you want one of these, go to our website, lionsarcade.com. There is a link down below to it, but there is a link on our website to the parts page, and we have a bunch of stuff like this listed on it. I think we may have our bent screwdriver on there too. Right? We have stuff listed on there that's on Amazon that we use, that we like. Okay? And it's kind of inexpensive. Well, I don't know. For that, it's like $25 or something like that. But if you buy anything on that page, it takes you to Amazon. If you buy anything on Amazon, either what we linked you to, or if you go to Amazon and after the link and then just browse around and buy something else, it gives us a tip. So we appreciate everybody that's been doing that. But this still has my seal of approval. The Vampire Tool solder sucker is everything that it says it should be. There's some knockoffs out there, people. Be aware of the knockoffs. The knockoffs, they say break right up here by the button. But as you see, this one does not. When they made the knockoff, they couldn't resist but make that neck a little bit skinnier. Because, you know, they're going to save half a damn penny if they can. But not Vampire Tools. No, theirs is the nice thick-necked one. And, you know, if you're using a vampire as your mascot, you got to get the neck right anyways, right? So it's a good product. Okay, so I'm going to scrape this back a little bit, get more creative with the solder, and I should be able to fix that. You could put a jumper over to here. That would be fine too. But whenever you're right there next to it, all you got to do is scratch that trace a little bit and make sure you've got good connection to the trace still, and it'll all be okay. Much better. We're waiting for the ball walker to finish with no solenoid voltage. And there it is. All right, so let's go into the test. Everything's cool. So why are we doing it like this? It's so we can see if a segment's missing, or sometimes it will give you the wrong numbers.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4,
So the reason it says that and it's at the wrong time, it's just, this is the burn-in mode. It's testing all the solenoids, all the lamps, and all the displays.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4,
and the sounds just kind of randomly, which are also solenoid lines. Okay, so we've got four good displays, it looks like. We need one more. Come on, Magic Box. You've been so good to us so far. Come on, Magic Box, we need one more. It's a Bally version. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, the Bally and Stern ones are completely interchangeable, so I could put this one in there. But the thing is, I kind of like putting the right ones in, even though it doesn't really matter. You do have a little bit of a thing where the face will look slightly different sometimes. So you'll have the commas will look different and stuff like that, or in the mask around it and stuff like that. So if you put 3 of one kind and 1 Bally, it'll work, but you can kind of tell, right? So let's see, I got another one. Let's see what else I got down in here. Another smoke damaged one. But not as bad as the other one. It must have been in a different spot. Oh, you know what? It's not smoke damage. It's just really dusty. Yep. Very cool. Okay, so I just use a cheap chip brush here. I've been using the same one for like 6-7 years. I'm feather dusting it. Works perfect for crap like this. So you've got all these little intricate parts and you can't get the dust off. Nah, all you gotta do is brush it with this a little bit. Let me see if I can clean it up a little bit. So that's a little better. Looks pretty good. I don't see anything jumping out at me. But look at the back. Oh no, it's been burnt. Nope, it hasn't been burnt. This little spot here, there's a little piece of rubber in the machine that the board sits on. And so that's the 2 little rubber feet that hold the back of it up, so that whenever you push down on that connector there, and you're pushing the connector on, you're trying to put 16 or 17 or however many of them it is on at one time, there are 2 little rubber feet that stick up to hold it. Okay, so it's not actually burnt, it just looks kind of weird from the rubber feet. So maybe this was smoke damaged or something too. I don't know. That won't come off though. Okay, so same thing. We're going to resolder all these. You can see somebody's already done it. Test all the transistors and test all of those resistors to make sure none of them are burnt up. I thought whenever I saw that on the back, I thought, oh man, some of the resistors are burnt. Nope. So same as we did with the other ones, and then we'll try it in the machine. Ain't it beautiful?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, there, ignition.
Very cool. All right, so we have a regular viewer named Caldwell,
1, 2, 3.
who always says, and just then Joe said, let's turn off the lights. All right, Caldwell, let's turn off the lights. You can't beat it, people. Boy, they look cool, don't they? Okay, so I think the last thing we're going to do, just because I'm wondering about that ball walker thing, is let's fix the plug for the power supply for the Playfield and see if any of it wants to light back up and come back up with us. So here's the bottom of this Playfield. This was a really jam-packed game. It's got all kinds of crap on it. It's got 3 drop targets here, which I think are just the regular ones. It scared me. Yeah, just 3 regular drop targets, and then it has 5 of them on that bank that are the memory targets, where it can remember which ones were down and drop them back down. So the game has the ability to drop 1 memory target on its own. Here is the ball walker unit, and then we have a couple coils that kick out from there, and then we have 2 pop bumpers, a kicker, 2 more kickers, another kicker. This thing is loaded. Top dollar. What a cool game. I've had them before. And they've started parting it out, so some of the flipper stuff is missing, but these are just hanging here and they should be fine when we lay it back down. So the reason that I haven't plugged it in yet is because we need to fix it, and then also, we're doing it step by step by step. We're progressing through the game. So first we did the power supply, then we did the solenoid board, then we did the MPU board, now we've done the displays. The lamp board seems to be all right. It's not going to burn anything up anyway. And the soundboard appears to be at least halfway working. So we're to the point where we can at least plug in the Playfield and see if anything catches on fire. Literally. I'm not kidding. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to replace this connector with a brand new one because it's burnt. And then we're going to plug her right in. Nice new connector installed. Routed the wires back a little bit. I don't see anything that's necessarily going to screw up under the Playfield. Nothing looks like ruined or anything. So we'll go ahead and lower it. These will dangle and be alright, I believe. And then we'll try turning it on. Okay, so here we go. We are literally looking for fire. Smoke test. Looking for anything burning, looking for a coil locking on or anything like that. It's the ball walker doing its thing. So it thinks that there's balls somewhere, so it's just continuously trying to kick them back down to here until it can see that there's 3 in the trough. And it never found them, so it went ahead and booted. All right, Caitlin, let's turn off the lights. So this is what's left of this poor game. It's holding on, people. It's holding on for dear life. It wants to come back. It just needs a little help. When we got it, they'd already started parting it out. And here we are now. We've got the thing back to, it's talking. We can see the displays. Some of the light bulbs have held on all this time. The lamp board is actually making some of them twinkle and do its thing. It's actually in a track mode. If you didn't see the earlier videos, once we fixed the power supply, the freaking MPU, the brain of it, booted right up. That thing's been holding on for 40 years, and it's still working. 40 years. Look at this crap. This is one of the coolest of the early solid state games. It really is. So it's definitely worthy of repair. So we're getting there. Wow. That's really cool, seeing those lights do their thing. Very, very cool. Of course, we haven't replaced any of the bulbs yet or even worked on that lamp driver board. That's just what's left. Okay, so there you go. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think so far. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it. Do you think we're going to be able to get this thing all the way going? Right? Is it even a question now? I mean, come on. Come on. We're working right through it. The displays were missing at the beginning of the video. Piece by piece, we're getting it back. Don't worry about it. It won't be no big thing. It's going to happen. Right here at Christmas, too. All right, so leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Make sure to give us a thumbs up, like I said. And make sure to check out my brother, Donnie. If you don't know about that, my brother has a channel here on YouTube. And it's awesome. If you like watching us work on these old pinball machines, you may enjoy watching he and I work on old buildings. We've got a couple old buildings near here in a small town that we are fixing up, trying to help revitalize their downtown area. So go check that out, and we will see you on the next video. On the next one, we're going to keep working through the electronics a little bit. I'm going to work on that lamp driver board. We're going to start working on the bottom of the Playfield, and we'll get it a little further and a little further. But eventually, I'm going to have to attack that Playfield. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to get my paintbrush ready. The paint is coming. Y'all have a good evening.